Hello everyone, I'm Andy Raffel from eTechnics.com and we're here today with another sort of unboxing overview type video. We've started doing sort of videos again, really focusing on sort of the aesthetics of a product, and then obviously with the written side of the review, which is generally something that Chris would do, we can get more into the nitty-gritty, the technical stuff and so forth. So today sees us looking at the Biostar Hi-Fi Z77X, which is this little beast here. Now, we haven't had any boards from Biostar in quite a while. The last one, I can't even remember the name of it, but it had orange bits all over it. It was quite a nice sort of board, but in my honest opinion, it sort of struggled to keep up with the likes of you know, the boards from ASRock, MSI, Gigabyte, Asus. But for a board aimed at the sort of mid sort of segment of the market, so I guess you'd call it the mainstream market, it was a good board, but it was lacking a few things at the time. So this is part of their newest range, which is the Hi-Fi range. So it's all down to audio. Obviously there's a lot of board manufacturers out there who focus on overclocking, who focus on video, and the sort of, you know, graphical side of a motherboard, so getting the most out of the iGPU, which is built onto the processor and so forth, whereas this is really aiming at the audio. Now we was at Computex last year, I believe it was Computex, and what we saw there was this particular board as well as a couple of other boards in this product range, and they had them on show with a set of headphones. Now, what they did with the headphones is they had it plugged into a normal motherboard set of audio, and then they had it plugged into this with a little switcher box so you could switch between the two. So it was all down to the person coming along, sticking the headphones on and having a little listen to the audio. Once they'd done that, press the button and it would switch over to this board and you could hear the difference. And I've got to be truthful and honest, you could hear a very, very distinct difference. A lot of it is going to be subjective, and it's the perception of the type of user who's using it. If you're an audiophile, or if you're just a general person who can appreciate the finer things when it comes to the likes of audio. Now, when it does come to things like that, a lot of people, because something may sound a little bit louder, they may assume that that's fantastic, that's great video, great audio, and it's all to do with sort of, you know, balancing levels and things like that. So it really depends on what your ears are used to, whether they can cope with certain amounts of bass, treble, mid-range, sound, and so forth. But this board is said to obviously pack a punch when it comes to that, due to the technology that has got involved on the audio side. So that's going to be down to the capacitors, it's going to be down to the components, the resistors, and basically the technology that Biostar have implemented onto this board. Obviously, being Z77 as well, it is the latest Intel chipset, so we are expecting the usual kind of results when it comes to performance, and of course overclocking using our Ivy Bridge 3770K. The reason we want to look at this board was obviously with Haswell coming up and the 4770K and so forth. We wanted to make sure that Biostar got a little bit of exposure on their current range of motherboards, because these are still very, very current, and you will find that even when Haswell and the new Z87 motherboards come out, that these are still going to be obviously in abundance to buy from retailers. So I don't want to ramble on much more. Instead, I think what we should do is put this down and have a little look at the packaging, have a look at what's inside, and then after that I can pass it over to Chris, and he can start having a look at how the performance side of things are. So we will, obviously when the written review is up with all the performance results, we will publish it in the description just below, and you can go there and see obviously if this is the right motherboard for you, and we will comment a little bit in the written side of the review about how the audio is on a subjective sort of side of things, because there isn't too many tests you can run when it comes to audio quality. It is all down to what your ears hear, and obviously everyone's ears are slightly different. So there you go. Right guys, let's have a look at the Biostar Hi-Fi Z77X motherboard. So guys, I don't really want to bore you too much with the packaging, but obviously we have to go over a few things first, so you know exactly what you'd be getting if you bought this particular board. So straight up, it's the Biostar Hi-Fi Z77X. So straight away we know it's an Intel Z77 chipset. Obviously supports the latest Intel Core processors, so i3, i5, i7, and it's all based around this whole hi-fi aspect. So there's a lot of motherboard manufacturers focusing on the overclockability, GPU and things like that. This is all about audio. So straight away you can see there's a couple of logos here just sort of informing you that, you know, it's all about this smart ear, hi-fi ground, hi-fi power, hi-fi amp. We've also got Intel SRT technology, we've got USB 3.0, Lucid Vertu MVP, we've also got multi-channel calibration, SLI support, crossfire support, loads of different features on this. So it's not a low-end board by all means for Biostar. And there's this massive sort of speaker in the middle as well, with a sort of equalizer effect going on. Turning things over, we can see that we've got a lot more logos once again. So other ones that we've got is the Smart Speed LAN, THX Audio, PCI Express 3.0, all the stuff that we expect from sort of a mid to high end board, you know, using the Z77 chipset. So it's been a while actually since we've had Biostar motherboards, so it's interesting to see, you know, what new features are on here for Z77. Inside we've got a quite small crossfire bridge, and obviously a SLI bridge as well. We've got, it's quite interesting, looks like a part of a microphone just from the little logo that you may be able to see on there. So obviously that plugs into the audio. Not sure whether that's the actual microphone itself or whether there's another part to it, we'll find out soon. Got a rear I/O panel shield plate with which is actually black, which is quite nice instead of having a cheap looking silver one. Got some SATA cables which are nicely put and tied together with this Biostar branded cable tie. So just taking that apart, we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they are the lock. They've got the little lockable clips on there as well on both ends, which is a nice little feature. We also have a driver installation disc, but to be honest, who uses these anymore? We always advise that you go onto obviously the website, so Intel website, Biostar website, and get the latest drivers you possibly can. And then we've got the user's manual, or as we call it in the mail world, the reference guide, because who uses user manuals these days? Men don't, they use reference guides, so if they have a problem they refer to this. So yeah, lots of stuff going on here in terms of the specs, the features, BIOS flasher and so forth. And now to the bit that we all really care about, which is the motherboard itself. So anti-static bag as standard. We've got a bit of foam on there as well, just underneath, just to keep it protected. So if we move everything out of the way, we can take a little bit of a closer look into this motherboard. What I'm actually going to do is, if I can take this off of here without dropping the camcorder, which would be quite an accomplishment, it has to be said. Right, so now that I've got this on my hand, I can sort of bring you in a little bit closer so we can have a proper look together. So, ATX form factor, of course, black PCB, which is really nice to see. A lot of motherboard manufacturers have been sort of moving over to the black PCB, and it's really nice to see it being developed, not just by the likes of Gigabyte and Asus and people like that, but you know, even the likes of Biostar. So first thing you're going to notice really is styling. So with that, styling wise, you can see there's obviously a lot of blue going on. So we've got the two heat sinks up here, which are obviously helping to cool the VRMs. So we've got the capacitors up here as well. That's obviously going to provide ample cooling in Biostar's eyes to the CPU socket, which is just here. Obviously supports the latest Intel processors, so Core i3, i5, i7, Sandy Bridge, Ivy Bridge, and so forth. So yeah, really nice blue on here. I'm actually quite a big fan of that particular type of blue, and obviously that also reflects down here on the Puro Hi-Fi branded heatsink, which is covering up the Z77 chipset. But to top it off, it's not just there that we've got these funky colours, we've also got the audio hi-fi caps over here. So we've got 3 here, another 3 here, and they're in a blue. Not quite the same blue, it's a little bit darker. I know the lighting in here is not fantastic, but you can see that's quite a dark blue, sort of much lighter blue, but still a nice blue regardless. And there's even blue on here as well, on these little transistors. So we've already spoken about CPU socket support. I can show you underneath if you really want to see. There you go, that's what the CPU socket looks like. I'm sure we're all very, very familiar with it. Memory wise, so we have 4 DIMM slots, and I am actually having to use the reference guide to tell you exactly what speed Biostar state that you can support up to, because obviously there's the speed that Intel say, based on obviously the chipset, and then there is the sort of speed that the motherboard manufacturer says, and then there's the speed that you can actually get. So what Biostar actually say is that there's 4 slots, and DDR3 obviously has a maximum capacity of 32 gig in total. With that, yeah, obviously each DIMM is going to be 8 gig maximum. Dual channel mode as we expect, and it supports DDR3 1066, 1333, 1600, and then past that is overclocking, which is 1800, 1866, 2000, 2133, 2200, 2400 and 2600. Obviously if you're going to them high speeds, then you are going to have a CPU that has got a good memory controller on it. We have luckily got a pretty good processor when it comes to a memory controller, so we're quite lucky we can have nice fast memory in there. So other than that, around the CPU socket we've got a CPU fan header here, we've got an 8-pin power connector up here, as well as obviously the 24-pin just down here. Other than that, not much else really going on around the CPU and memory area, as you can see. Moving down though, we have got our storage obviously. So what we've got here is we've got 6 SATA ports. Now with these we have, by the looks of it, different speeds. So we have got some of them being SATA 2 and some of them being SATA 3. Once again, back to the trusty reference guide. So let's have a quick look here. So we've got SATA 3 gig, and we've got the SATA 6 gig, so they have sort of labelled it up quite nicely, I guess. So what you actually find is, looks like these ones here and these ones here are your SATA 3 gig per second, but these ones here are your SATA 6 gig per second, which is really, really odd. So you can see that the little box sort of, you know, incorporates these two into the SATA 6 gig, but these two are incorporated into SATA 3 gig, which is really, really odd, because obviously on Z77 you expect a little bit more for your money, but I guess Biostar are focusing more on this audio area over there. So so they haven't really focused on obviously giving maximum support when it comes to SATA. I was honestly expecting all 6 of these ports to be SATA 6 gig per second, which is a bit of a downside, I guess. But hey ho, moving on. So we've got a debug LED here, clear CMOS just over here. We've got our front panel headers just here. So we've got speaker, hard drive LED, reset, on off, power LED. We've also got these buttons for obviously the extreme overclockers and troubleshooters. So we've got a power button and a reset button. Quite a nice finish on these buttons, sort of silver finish, and it looks like these actually would light up as well, because they're clear where the actual logo is. We've got USB 2, another USB 2, COM port, system fan, chassis intruder, and then we've got our SPDIF out, and that's pretty much it. So I'm actually quite disappointed that we're missing a very vital connector, if you ask me, when it comes to Z77 boards. So I'm just going to scope around the board again, and you'll probably agree that you can't see it either. Normally it would be sort of up here somewhere by the ATX power connector, 24 pin, or it will be down here towards the USB 2. And obviously I'm talking about USB 3, it's just non-existent, which is a bit of a downside. It has got it on the rear, but you expect to have a header, because a lot of chassis that are out in this day and age have got USB 3 you know, capabilities.
But yeah, pretty disappointing with that, to be honest. So I will feed that back to Biostar that, you know, they've upset me with this board. But moving on, where the audio is, this whole sort of bit, so from here all the way down to here is all about the audio, obviously including the SP diff header as well. So all of this is all to do with the audio. So you can see we've got the Puro hi-fi here, the hi-fi capacitors and resistors as well, and THX audio as well, 7.1 HD audio. They sort of, they're saying that this is sort of the amp area, so this is going to work just like an amp would, which will be interesting to see, you know, even in our normal testing, if that's true. And obviously with a product like that, it is all very subjective, but there you go. Moving on to the expansion ports, you can see that we've got quite a few really. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so straight away we've got a PCI Express X1 slot here, just by the system fan header, so there's another one there. X1 slot, we've got an X16 slot, which is full X16, so you can see all the pins go to the end. We've got quite a nice gap here, so obviously they have thought about people who are going to have the dual or triple slot coolers. They've sort of, you know, had this room sort of made in between the X16 and the next X1 slot. So we've got another X1 slot here, we've got another X16 slot, which the pins go all the way to the end, so this is physically and mechanically another X16 slot. And then we've got an X1 slot here and another X16 slot once again. So obviously two of them are only PCI Express, two of them are PCI Express 3.0, which is going to be this one and that one. And just looking at it, I can't believe I've completely missed it, but there it is. That is in the most stupid place ever, I've got to say. I'm one for cable tidying. If you've seen any of the builds that me and my colleagues at eTechnics have done, I'm one for cable tidying. So I want a USB 3 port up here. I want to be able to sort of come just through the case and just clip in there. Same with, you know, when I have my 24 pin in, it literally sort of bends as tight as it can over to the side and goes through the rubber grommets that would be here on a chassis. Over there is just absolutely ridiculous. You're going to have to trail a cable all the way over here or all the way up from here just to plug it in there. That's absolutely ridiculous. Another big hate of mine is the fact that they're still using the ATI Crossfire X logo. Even on the box it said AMD. ATI, I need to tell Biostar, they haven't been around for a little while, but we all know what it means. NVIDIA SLI support as well. So yeah, these two slots are PCI Express 3.0, and then this one down here is Gen 2. And then obviously the PCI Express X1 slots are all Gen 2 as well. In terms of SLI and Crossfire, by the looks of it, you can do 2 cards in SLI or Crossfire, and that will make them both run, this one and that one, at X8 speeds. So obviously this hasn't got another chip under here, it's purely just a Z77 chipset. If it did, then, you know, it could provide extra power to the bandwidth lanes, or sometimes you'd find the power connector over here on certain boards. But yeah, these will run at X8, but as we all know, X8 and X16, there's not a mass amount in it anymore. Not when it first came out, when, you know, things were a little bit shaky there was, but these days it's generally okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to that, and then we've got the CMOS battery here as well. Other than that, the last thing I can really show you is the rear I/O. So let me just move the camcorder down a little bit and plonk it down. So what we've got here is all the usual suspects really. So we've got a PS2 keyboard port, we've got 2 USB 2.0 ports, HDMI, DVI, VGA, 2 USB 3.0 ports just here, another 2 USB 2.0 ports, gigabit LAN as well, which I'm guessing is going to be Realtek, it generally is, and then we've got the 7.1 HD audio, hi-fi amp, hi-fi cap, hi-fi resistor, Puro hi-fi, absolutely fandangle, amazing audio apparently in here. Sadly no optical, which really makes no sense to me. You'd expect with a board that is aimed at the audio file, I guess is what you'd call them, you'd expect to have some sort of optical Maybe it's just me. Maybe you can tell me in the comments. Just down here, there's some comments. Comment down there. Am I being crazy, or should you expect a board that is aimed at, you know, audiophiles and people who are into their audio to have more than just analog audio? It's a little bit stupid, if you ask me. So there you go. Can't really say much more than that. This has been a unboxing and general overview on the Biostar Hi-Fi Z77X with what I can see, not much in terms of features for Hi-Fi. Not a great design either, in my opinion, when it comes to the USB 3.0. A little bit frustrated about the functionality of SATA and the fact that you've only got 2 SATA 6 gig per second ports, which is going to be fine for most users. But for me, I just think, you know, it's lacking a little bit. What we're going to do is I'm going to pass this over to my colleague Chris, who will be running all our usual benchmark tests on this board. He will also be overclocking it, seeing how far it will go, and maybe putting in a little bit of subjective views on the audio side of things, because it's definitely an interesting one, an audio board aimed at audiophiles and not having a mass amount of audio features. But we may be blown away. We did actually see this board at Computex, I think it was, and at the time it did sound a lot better than sort of normal audio. But we all know what it's like at events and things like that. They can make you hear whatever you want to hear. So yeah, this is Andy Raffel from eTechnics.com looking at the Biostar Hi-Fi Z77X. A little bit of a sour taste in my mouth due to the fact that the functionality is not there. The design is a little bit flawed, and the audio I'm not even going to go into. There you go, Biostar Hi-Fi Z77X. Be sure to subscribe, like, do whatever with this video. Let us know what you think about this board, just based on this unboxing and this overview, because definitely very interesting to see what you will think. Until next time, see you later.